What is happening with the Rutherford County real estate market today? That's what we're getting ready to talk about. Most weeks I bring you a lot of stats and data, and I do plan on bringing some of those to you this week as well. But really, kind of what I want to do today is more of a what I'd call a fireside chat. Just wanting to talk about what's going on with the market, how we got here, and kind of what it may look like moving forward. Um, I am John Turner. I am the team lead of the Turner Victory team at Onward Real Estate. Appreciate you tuning in to the Murfreesboro Real Estate Report, where we do talk all things Rutherford County real estate, which includes Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Vergne, Eagleville, and all points in between. Um, but really, what I wanted to do today, like I says, I just kind of wanted to back up and kind of talk about I don't know, real estate over the past 20 years or so here in Rutherford County. So, as most of you know, I have actually been a realtor in Rutherford County since 2000. I grew up around this business. It's been part of my life as long as I can remember. Um, so this story goes back to the early 2000s, not too long after I got in business, around 2005. Rutherford County was moving along pretty well as far as real estate goes. Rutherford County has always been considered one of the more affordable places to live in Middle Tennessee, and back then it definitely was that way. Um, and some things happened in Rutherford County and across the nation around 2005, 2006, and what we saw a lot of building going on. Um, quite frankly, we got overbuilt at that time. Um, but the interesting thing is home prices. A starter home back then was somewhere around $100,000, which was really amazing. It's not that the mortgage rates were around 8%, but it really was the cost of building a home in Rutherford County was fairly inexpensive. The lot prices were compared to today, way a lot more inexpensive. Most builders were paying, I don't know, 22,000, 25,000 for a building lot, which right now you will not find one less than $100,000 in Rutherford County, and quite frankly, most of them are probably 150 and higher. So a lot of things were going on then, but then what happened across the nation? We got into what we know as the Great Recession, and we could talk about all the reasons for that, but we're not going to. Uh, but the market really just tanked. As a matter of fact, what you may not remember is that in Rutherford County, we had 4 years of where prices declined. And that's something, I mean, some of you, if you lived through it, if you were trying to sell a house then, you remember. I remember, quite frankly, it was tough on me personally. And I did get behind on my house payment and eventually lost that because it was worth so much less than what I paid for it. And I couldn't turn around and sell it. And that was something that a lot of people remember. A lot of people got hurt then. But something that you may not have realized at that point, too, a lot of builders got hurt and a lot of developers got hurt. So builders and developers almost stopped doing anything for several of those years. I know some developers in particular that lost everything they had in development, and those ended up getting foreclosed on and sold. And um, that's actually one of the ways that some of the national builders came into Rutherford County. Before then, we really didn't have many national builders here. It was mainly local builders. And they came into town because they bought up all these foreclosed lots, and it was a inexpensive way for them to get into Rutherford County. Um, so from 2011 on, the market started recovering. People started buying houses again, even those who got hurt in 2007, 2008. A few years went by, they were able to buy. Mortgage rates started dropping a little bit. I remember when they went below 6%, and we just couldn't believe it. We never thought we'd see anything lower than that at that time. Um, but it was really a pretty good stretch. We did see where prices rose a little bit faster than wages did, but still the average working person in Rutherford County was able to buy a home back then, which was really really nice, and it was not a burden to them. You can, for about 25-28% of the household income, you were able to get a fairly nice house. Um, and then 2020 hit. And I remember when, if you go back to March of 2020, we had no idea what was going to happen. COVID hit, and, you know, we were told to go home for a couple of weeks, flatten the curve. Everybody's sitting around. I mean, we had no idea how this was going to go. But I can tell you, for someone who makes a living uh, in sales, that was a scary time. We had no idea if we were going to have any income, and if we were, what it would look like. So it really was scary for us. It was scary for a lot of the people in the area and across the nation. But what happened was, to really spur the economy and things of that nature, um, mortgage rates dropped to 3%, actually kind of on either side of 3%. And two things happened then. Number one, anybody who had been sitting on the sideline thinking about buying a house, all of a sudden they came out and wanted to buy a house. There was a lot more money floating around. People were working remotely, so they weren't tied to just, they had to be in this particular area. They could go whatever area they wanted to, because, like I say, they were working remotely. And we all remember that, and we remember the feeding frenzy on homes, and how it was. I mean, it was so hard for someone to buy a home at that time, unless you had a lot of money behind you. But one of the other things that we forget about is that people who were already in a home that they liked, they just went out and refinanced. And they went from 5% mortgage down to 3% or 2.85%, whatever it is. So you had two classes of people, two sections of people that were refinancing or getting 3% mortgages. You had the buyers, and you had the current homeowners who were refinancing. Um, so fast forward to the summer of 2022, things got inflation just started getting out of hand. So all of a sudden, mortgage prices go up, and that took away the cheap money. But what had happened during that feeding frenzy of homes selling so quickly, prices had escalated very quickly. Um, as a matter of fact, in 2021, homes in this area went up almost 25%. Okay. And over a 3-year period, they went up 45%. So, and just for reference, up to that point in Rutherford County, we were seeing somewhere around 4.7, 4.8% appreciation every year. So we had over 9 years worth of appreciation in 3 years. What did not appreciate that quickly was wages. Okay. Um, so anyway, fast forward to 2022, mortgage rates goes up, prices are still up, and all of a sudden the market just halts. I mean, I can name the day that it did. I mean, it was definitely felt it. Um, and I think most of us thought it would be for a short term, and then mortgage rates would come back down. But it, it didn't happen. Mortgage rates stayed elevated. We did see them at the beginning of this year, 2026. The 30-year fixed average was at 3.9, or I'm sorry, at 5.98%, which really we started seeing things pick up again. Okay, because of the mortgage rates. Now, remember, back in the early 2000s, mortgage rates were a lot higher than what they are even today. But the cost of building a home was not what it is today. Plus, you've got to go back. Remember those 4 years I talked about where builders weren't building? Um, I know if you live in Rutherford County, you think that there's building going on everywhere, and there's too much, probably, especially if you're someone who's been around here as long as I have been. That's what I always hear. But we really were not building enough houses and bringing enough houses on for all the people who want to buy a home. So whenever 2020 hit, that lack of inventory really hurt us, and we saw that huge increase in prices. Um, Builders are building now. The challenge is that uh, the land costs, the lumber costs, and all that, plus the mortgage rates, all put the price of a home where it's a lot harder for the average person to afford. So that's kind of what's going on, and everybody thinks, oh well, if mortgage rates will come down, that will help ease this, and it will some. But it also goes back to that where wages did not rise nearly as quickly as home prices have, and we're still in that right now. So why do I talk about this? Why do I bring this up? 2020 really kind of set the tone for what we're seeing today. 2020 and 2021 did. We didn't know it at the time, but basically, the cheap money and the home prices going up so quickly locked in people. The people who refinanced at 3% and they bought their house for 200,000 in Rutherford County. I mean, where are they going to move right now? Even though they have good equity in their house, if they don't want to go up in payment, then what are they going to do? Then you have the people who bought post summer of 2022, where they did not get the benefit of the lower mortgage rates, nor did they get the benefit of the lower prices. So they paid higher prices and higher mortgage rates. And here we are, 3-4 years later, and we have not seen that appreciation like we saw even before 2020. We have not seen 5% appreciation over the past 3 or 4 years. We might see 1%, 2%, depending on what you want to look at. I could even argue that from 2025, we're down right now in appreciation. So now you've got people who bought recently who may want to move, job relocation, life changes, whatever it is, and they're locked in too because they can't turn around and sell their house for what they bought it for. And then you throw in, the fees it costs to sell it, and also then competing against new construction, because new construction, which makes up about a third of our market right now, those builders are offering incentives. They're buying down rates. They're they're giving free upgrades. There's all sorts of things that they're doing because they are trying to move that product. So it makes it even tougher for a resale person, someone trying to resell their home, existing home, right now. And that's again where we are with the market. Okay, John. I'm a seller. I understand that. You're just telling me what I already know. Well, yeah, I am a little bit. What So what can we do? What does this mean first of all, to a buyer that's looking to buy a home right now in Rutherford County? Right now, I would tell a buyer that there's some opportunities out there. There are, as we said, builders are offering all sorts of incentives. They're paying closing costs. As a matter of fact, all your closing costs. They're buying down rates. They're giving you free upgrades. They've got to move that inventory. A lot of these national builders, they're publicly traded, so they're trying to move inventory and keep things going to keep their books turning and trying to make those numbers look good. So they have incentive. So if it's me, I'm doing one of two things. If I'm a buyer, I'm looking new construction. I guess I'm doing three things. One, new construction. Two, I'm ready to jump on any house that comes on the market that's priced correctly. Okay. And we can argue what correctly means, but I can tell you that if you're in the market looking, you know it when you see it. Okay. And then the third thing is anything that's been on the market over 90 days, there is a chance that if that seller has room, now if they bought since 2022, they may not have the negotiating room. They may not, because they may have to bring money to closing and they may not have that money. But if they've got room, you certainly want to look that route because there may be some opportunities there for you as well. If you are a seller, first thing I will tell you to do is forget about any past pricing. Okay. So if you are one of those people that refinance, you bought your house, in 2018, don't think about what prices were at the height of the market. Okay. I could have got this for it. No, you've got to look and see what it's worth today. What are buyers willing to pay today? And remember that new construction is your competition. It's not just the house in your neighborhood. So many times we like to look at comps in our neighborhood and say, well, this house sold for that and this one sold for that. Well, yes, there was a buyer for that. But in a market where things are moving slower, you have to look at what opportunities any buyer has out there and how do you position yourself against those homes. If you bought post summer 2022 and you're one of those sellers that's kind of in the tough spot right now, I would tell you, you have to forget what you paid for that house. Well, first of all, you as a seller, you have to decide whether you're a seller or not. I mean, are you someone that just kind of wants to sell? Or are you someone who truly is a seller and you won't be in the game and get it sold? So that's one thing you have to decide. But after that, you have to forget what you paid for the house. Okay? Because there is a chance that you are going to walk away with less money than what you bought that house for. That's just the market we're in right now. That's if you need to sell your house, you've got to get the price you paid out of your head because the market doesn't care what you paid for it. I know you do, and I know that whenever we're talking about financially, there's only so much you can do. But also, I know a lot of people out there brought a lot of money to the table when they bought recently. Maybe they sold at the height of the market their old house, so they had a lot of cash to bring into their new house. Okay, well, you've got to forget what you paid for that and just think about what is it worth. Price it that way. And it really depends on, as I said, whether you're motivated or not. If you're not motivated, if you really don't have to sell and you're just testing the waters, you're probably not going to be very successful. So those are the opportunities that I see with buyers and with sellers right now in today's market. I told you we would get into a little bit of stats, so I'm just going to hit them real quickly because there are a couple of things that I think we really need to look at here as we get into this. First of all, the Turner Victory Market Health Score is at 41. That has gone down, which means we are trending more towards buyers, which is kind of what we were just talking about right now. There are 1,643 homes on the market in Rutherford County, so you do have competition if you're a seller. Below 500,000, we are still moving, but it may not feel like it, quite frankly. Basically, homes are coming on the market and selling the first couple of weeks, or they're just sitting for a while. And the only way as a seller to really change that up is, and we talk about all the time, is look at your presentation. And if your presentation is good, you got to look at pricing. Okay. This market is very sensitive to pricing right now. But here's a couple of things that I am looking at that has me a little bit, I don't want to say concerned, but paying attention to so we know how to react to it. First of all, you can see we reached the height of the market at 1669 as far as active inventory here just a few weeks ago. We're still floating around nearly as much inventory as we've had in the past 4 years. The month supply, and this is the weird dynamic, is that our month supply is still in a place where what we would call it a balanced market. And now if you're in the market, you're probably going to tell me, John, it does not feel like a balanced market, especially if you're a seller. And I agree with you. But the best way I can describe this is if you have a restaurant and you have, let's say, 20 tables in there, and you're like, you know what? We only have 10 customers coming in a night. So let's take out 10 of the tables. And that way we're going to look full. Okay. Okay. And that's kind of what you do. But then all of a sudden, 5 of those people quit coming in. Well, you still have 50%. You're still at 50% capacity. But the number of tables in that building is so much smaller. So you're not um, really reaching your restaurant's capacity. And that's what we're seeing with this market is that the sales are there to an extent. But what's happening is that we don't have as many people trying to sell, okay, because of that locked in effect. So it's keeping the month supply in an area that we would call a balanced market. If we did not have that locked in effect, there would be more people trying to sell right now. But that doesn't mean the buyer pool would increase. So that's where we would see the acceleration of the month supply, and that's where we would really see the downward pressure on pricing. If you're a seller right now, you need to be thankful that we are limited, even though our inventory is up over what it's been, that it's not as high as what it would be given a little bit of different market circumstances, because the pressure on your prices, the downward pressure is not as much as what it could be. Buyers, you're probably hoping a little bit more inventory comes online, but I still say there's a lot of opportunities there for you. This right here demonstrates that if you look at new listings, we continue to be well below what we were the past couple of years with our new listings. Again, we're paying attention to the orange, but this is what I am watching right here. We know July was up. Okay, we talked about that. There was some good demand. Pending home sales were up in July. Or in June, I'm sorry. In June it was. But in July, this has really dropped off. We noted this a couple of weeks ago, this big gap in that pending home sales for July were way down. We came back for a week and recovered to exactly what we did in 2025. So we thought, man, maybe we're on our way. And even last week, we were up over the weeks before, but we were down compared to 2025. Well, look at this big drop right here. 92 pending home sales this week versus 129 this time last year. So basically, 5 out of the past 6 weeks, our pending sales have been down over what we saw last year, and the 6th week was exactly the same. I think that trend's going to continue. I think that our pending home sales are going to continue below what we saw last year. I don't see anything that makes me think that it's really going to pick up. The only thing is if we had a significant drop in mortgage rates, it may pick up. But besides that, I am not seeing anything on my radar that gives me hope that we're going to see anything. So if you're a seller right now and hoping the market's going to turn, I don't think it is. Again, I tell people all the time, my crystal ball is cracked. I could be proven wrong next week, but I'm just not seeing anything in the data that gives me that hope. And then also you look at, the showings, every price point except below 400,000, you're having less than one showing a week on average. And you could see how that has dropped way off from our peak. Now, I don't have historical data here. It's something that I didn't pull going back before this year, so I don't have it. I imagine this is lower than what's been past years, but I don't have the data to show that. But that is a concern moving forward. So whenever we're talking about what's going on with the market, sellers, I think it's going to get tougher for you. I really do. And I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news. What I'm trying to say is that I think that you need to be very aware of what's going on with the market and decide whether you are a seller or whether you need to sit it out for a little while. Buyers, the opportunity is still there. I know mortgage rates aren't quite where you want them to be, but there's a lot of incentives out there, and there are a lot of people that really would love to make a deal. So let's get out there and make a deal and get you into a home. I appreciate you sitting through this. It's a little bit longer than some of the videos that I do, but I did want to just kind of recap what we have, kind of where we are right now, just to kind of put it all in perspective. Um, we study this market every week, and we appreciate you tuning in. So I am John Turner, the team lead of the Turner Victory team at Onward Real Estate. And as I said, we appreciate you tuning in this week and hope to see you next week. And until then, I hope you make it a great week. Thank you.